Yeah, we're starting out of this world with the ICC Men's T20 World Cup, which got underway on Saturday. The first 4 matches are done and dusted, with South Africa, the latest winner, thumping Sri Lanka by 6 wickets on Monday in New York. Andrik Nortje took 4 for 7 in his 4 overs to rout the Sri Lankans for 77 in 19.1 overs. Quinton de Kock then returned with 20 to top score for the Proteas as they reached 80 for 4 to win with 22 balls to spare. Both host countries were also in the winners' circle at the weekend, with USA beating rivals Canada by 7 wickets, led by an unbeaten 94 by Aaron Jones, the highest individual score of the tournament so far. West Indies beat Papua New Guinea on Sunday by 5 wickets in what some would consider a close match. It was at Providence in Guyana. Papua New Guinea, batting first, posted 136 for 8 in their 20 overs, with Sesebao getting an even 50 against 2 wickets each for Andre Russell and Elzari Joseph. The Windies then fought to 137 for 5, led by an unbeaten 42 by player of the match Roston Chase, and at 34 from Brandon King. They won by 5 wickets with 6 deliveries to spare. Nikhil Uttamchandani joins us to review what has happened so far at the ICC Men's T20 World Cup, and we're of course starting with that West Indies victory over Papua New Guinea. And before I talk about what I know you want to talk about, Nikhil, or what you are most excited to talk about, I just want you to give us a general overview of how you saw that West Indies performance against Papua New Guinea on Sunday.
Yeah, you said just now in your intro, Ricardo, that some will say it's a close game. I thought it was a very close game, probably too close for comfort. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. And at one stage, I really thought Papua New Guinea were going to get the better of the West Indies. But, the saviour, behold, was there again. And I know we'll talk about him. I think it was a bit nervy. But the most important thing is that they've got over the line in that first game, because had they not, that would have been a disaster for the West Indies and for, the entire region.
Again, before I get to what I know you really want to talk about, I just want you to assess, if you can, the impact of Phil Simmons being part of the Papua New Guinea coaching staff and the plans that they set for the West Indies.
To be honest, Ricardo, I'm surprised that many people have not really looked into this. It was so clear to me in some of the bowling, especially from PNG. When I saw the way that they bowled to Nicholas Pooran, it was starting on the stumps but finishing on a 4th or 5th stump line. Very tight line and very disciplined. They had, obviously, Ali Nal, who was swinging the ball both ways. And for Pooran, who strikes at 160 in 2024 in close to 50 T20s, to be 5 runs off 15 balls, regardless of how tough the pitch was, I think we have to give a lot of credit to PNG. And Phil Simmons is Nicholas Pooran's head coach in the CPL. He's obviously coached him when Pooran was captain in the West Indies. It was a clear tactic for me to bowl to that 4th and 5th stump line. And it plagued him. It really contained him. I thought that was an integral passage of the game. And had they reviewed 3 balls into Pooran's innings, he would have been dismissed. And who knows what could have happened. But I think Pollard, obviously Pollard being with England, Dwayne Bravo being with Afghanistan, and we've seen Phil Simmons with Papua New Guinea. Don't underestimate the influence these guys can have on these teams. I watched Bravo in the warm-up games for Afghanistan, and he's constantly drilling into them and the bowlers, the execution, given conditions, given the win factor. It makes a huge difference, in my opinion.
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's talk about what I know you really want to talk about now, and that's the man Roston Chase. Now, before you say anything, I must admit, when I was watching the game yesterday and the West Indies were 4 down, Roston Chase was there. He was what I would consider to be struggling. He had gotten to 18 from 20 deliveries. And I thought to myself, this is exactly the position that I don't want to see Roston Chase in, because I'm concerned about his ability to accelerate, especially when the team is chasing, no pun intended. But he did, 24 from the next 7 deliveries, and that made the win comfortable for the West Indies. It's your time to gloat, Nikhil Uttamchandani.
Yeah, to be honest, Ricardo, obviously it's very impressive that he got over the line and was able to take the game deep. That was the critical thing. Had he gotten out 18 from 21 deliveries, we would be having a completely different discussion.
You're
Ricardo
right
would be
about
saying,
that.
I told you so. But the most important thing was that he made sure he waited, was patient, and stayed there to the end. I thought Russell, that maximum he hit when he came to the crease, took immense pressure off of Chase. But as happy as I am about Roston's performance and the West Indies win, I still think this is a very risky way to play their cricket, Ricardo. And the dot balls is something that they've stressed on. I've spoken to Floyd Reefer, batting coach, at length. You talk about in that Jamaica series, they've targeted 15 dots in the middle overs. They only want to face 15 dots. They want to score off more deliveries. But what we had in that middle over period between overs 7 and 15 was 27 dots by the West Indies. And we can all agree that the West Indies have got better bowlers than Papua New Guinea. And PNG only faced 19 dots. So even they were able to score off of more deliveries. And we've seen them improve drastically on better pitches, like at Sabina Park. But what will happen when we play another game at Providence or another game in Trinidad? They must improve to have a chance of winning this World Cup.
Yeah, and I guess my concern is, and it's not limited to Chase, but my concern would be if Chase can consistently do what he did yesterday. Because if you are going to approach every innings like that, where you try to build momentum and slowly get into the innings, I understand on pitches like the one in Guyana yesterday, slow turners might be an important sort of individual to have in your setup, but I'm just not convinced that it's something that will work every time.
Yeah, and again, this is why you obviously and many others asked the question about Shea Hope, because this is ideally what he was brought in for. Someone who can bat in that top order, regardless of conditions, be aware enough that he can attack, has the ability to attack, or in innings like this, he can sort of be that glue. And I think the only time an anchor is still sort of prevalent in T20 cricket is a situation like this, where you're on a tough surface and you're chasing below 140. But T20 cricket for me has gone past it, and Roston Chase at some stage of this tournament will have to show the other gear, which we saw a bit in that South Africa series. But the one thing I really appreciated from him was that bowling performance. 4 overs, 6.5 runs per over. That, to me, just watching Robin Powell, he just seems so much more at ease, Ricardo, and that's because I think he had a 6 bowling option. So Russell, for example, didn't have to bowl out. Moti and Hossain didn't bowl out because there was a left hand at the crease, whereas in the past, there was pressure being built because you only had 5 bowling options. I just think that flexibility he offers is so important.
Yeah, when I was watching the match to Nikhil and I saw Roston Chase being the hero of the match, I thought about you and I knew that was going to be a talking point today. I actually wanted to send you a message, but I was like, maybe he's actually working, so I'll let it be until Monday. So we can't watch Roston Chase anymore without, of course, thinking about you. So that aside, what was your assessment of the fielding? 9 extras, you know, what did you think about how the West Indies went about that aspect of their game?
Yeah, I think they've got to be more clinical, Mariah. I want to give, again, credit to Sese Bao and PNG because the fight that they showed for 17 overs of that game, I think they were ahead of the West Indies. And to be from 34 for 3 to get to 136 against a very good West Indies bowling attack, away from home, this is your first sort of T20 World Cup, no real experience with DRS systems and stuff. I thought the effort that they put in, it was amazing to see. And this is what associate cricket, I think, can produce. And I believe there's some upsets coming in this tournament, given what I've seen in the first 2 days. But the West Indies are going to have to be more clinical. If they had faced a New Zealand or Afghanistan and batted like that, they would have lost the game. Because if you had a few more, I think, better bowlers, maybe 1 or 2 better bowling options from that Papua New Guinea team, the West Indies would have easily lost that game. So they've got to be better. They're going to play, obviously, Afghanistan in St. Lucia. We expect that to be quite good for batting. But New Zealand, where they play them in Tarouba, which is Trinidad and Tobago, you don't know what you're going to get there. And if it's a pitch as slow and similar to Guyana, they've got Ish Sodhi, they've got Mitch Santner, they've got Bolt and Tim Southey who can take pace off the ball. No game in this World Cup is going to be easy, not even Uganda in a couple of days' time. So the West Indies have got to wake up. Otherwise, this could be a big shock in terms of to the public and all their fans around the world.
Speaking about shock, were you surprised when you didn't see Shimron Hetmyer in the playing squad?
No, not at all, to be honest. I think Rutherford has done so much in the small opportunities he's been given. If you think back to the Australia series, if you think about the England series end of last year, it's very hard to play both of them. They're both left-handers. We know Russell, we know Shepherd, and obviously Rodman is captain. We know they're important. I can't see how Hetty fits into that team unless you drop a Roston Chase, which I don't think is an option because of the bowling. So yeah, I didn't really expect to see him in the 11. I know others had him in their probably 11, but I think the West Indies need 6 bowlers. So for that reason, Rutherford is the man.
Yeah, and whenever we discuss the IPL, we talk about the positives and the benefits, but Shervin Rutherford is one of the players who really didn't get to play as much in the IPL as we West Indies fans would like to see him. Alzari Joseph was another one of those players. Do you think their game suffered against PNG because of that?
Well, to be honest, I saw Rutherford in Trinidad where he played the warm-up game against Australia, and he looked really good. It was against an Australian attack that he was familiar with. I think he got 47 in 20-odd deliveries. So I don't know how much that's impacted. Obviously, there's more pressure on in the World Cup game, so fine. But I think it was more sort of the pitch and how difficult it was, as well as the discipline with PNG bowled with. And, I mean, they really surprised me. It's an adjustment, let's be real. You've got guys bowling at 120 kilometers per hour on a very slow pitch. Now, usually in international cricket, pacers have got to take pace off the ball just to get to those speeds. These guys are bowling those speeds naturally. And I think you look at the Johnson Charles dismissal, for example, the slowness and the lack of pace just completely caught him by surprise.
Yeah, Nikhil, I want you to comment quickly on Rovman Powell's post-match comments, because he pretty much said similar things to what you are saying, that the team didn't perform well and they need to improve. And he said they were pretty much 60 to 70% of what they should have been. So a pretty frank post-match narrative coming from the captain.
Yeah, I appreciate that, to be honest, Lance. And I know Darren Sammy and the coaching staff will be quite strict as well. Look, these guys have set quite high standards for the last 2 years to build into this T20 World Cup. And there is no way that Papua New Guinea should face less dots than the West Indies in a T20 World Cup game. As hard as the pitch is, as slow as it is, I think it just comes down to intent and awareness. And look, I understand we've played on some very good surfaces in those series. We've seen scores of 250 plus. But this T20 World Cup will be won by the team who can adapt the quickest. And that will be what Darren Sammy will be telling his team. I think that game showed everyone at this World Cup that you cannot take any team lightly. When the West Indies play Uganda, they've got a few very good seamers that I've been watching from the Under-19 World Cup all the way through. They could easily pull a surprise. So every game you have to be at 100% and you have to be firing, because this T20 World Cup, to win this, you're going to have to really be the best team in the tournament.
Yeah, Nikhil, of course, there's some growing concern now that although the West Indies are co-hosts of this tournament, some evidence already that the pitch conditions may not suit the home team, the West Indies.
Well, to be honest, Lance, I've been quite surprised, if I could put it nicely, by some of the pitches. Now, look, the Guyana one, while people will say, well, we should have a better pitch, I applaud the effort. There was green grass on the surface, and there's been so much rain in Guyana over the last 4 days that I think there was that moisture playing a part. But some of the other grounds I've seen, the Kensington Oval, for example, I expected to see some green grass on the surface, but I didn't see any grass last night when Namibia and Oman played. And there was variable bounce. There was a two-pace nature of the surface. And I'm quite surprised, given what I heard going into this T20 World Cup about these venues and the work that have been put in. So I do expect them to get a bit better, to flatten out. We've had a lot of rain in the Caribbean. But yeah, when it comes to these pitches, you kind of want flat pitches given the West Indies' batting ability. You don't really want slow pitches that Papua New Guinea's bowlers are exploiting.
Mm-hmm. And do you feel the same about the surface in New York?
Yeah, again, it was a drop-in pitch. This is my stance on the pitches, Ricardo. I am not for one that believes you must have 26s in every T20 game. However, I still want to see even bounce, I would say even pace nature. What we saw in New York today was green grass, something in it for Norkia, something in it for Rabada and the Pacers. However, it was so two-paced and uneven that it was very difficult and also on the slower side. So again, it's a drop-in pitch from Adelaide. I hope that I can flatten out as we go on. India scored 190 there a couple of days ago, but I was quite shocked to see how difficult it was for South Africa to chase down 77 runs. It took them 17 overs. That was kind of a surprise to me.
I want to make the point, though, Nikhil, that it should be okay in a tournament that there are some pitches that will be more difficult than others. And there are some pitches that batsmen will have to work overtime and have to show real quality if they're going to score runs, as opposed to just swinging through the line of the ball and everything going out of the park. And I think, I'm trying to remember who it is that said this. I think it was the India captain. Not sure which one at this stage, but every time you have a turning wicket on the first day of a test match, then there's a massive issue. But nobody complains when 500, 600, 700 runs is scored and wickets are difficult to come by. So I am perfectly okay with the slow turners. Show me that you can bat. If you're a real batsman, go out there and handle it.
I hear you, Ricardo, but I'm thinking about the strength of the West Indies team. and it's not the slow turners. So it's a home World Cup. We have to use that advantage. But, I mean, Norkia said today, he said he saw nothing wrong with the pitch. He said it was a perfect cricket wicket. And obviously he would say that taking 4 for 7. But again, I have no problem with a lot being in it for the bowlers. A 140 or 150 is fantastic. The only issue I have is when you have the variable bounce, guys getting hit on the glove, sharp, steep bounce, which is kind of dangerous because you don't really want to have those unforeseen injuries. But yeah, it's a tough one. Obviously, the bowlers will have one perspective, the batters will have another. But I think for the West Indies and their strength, you kind of want the flattest pitches. And I think it's a blessing that they're playing Afghanistan in St. Lucia. Boy, do I hope that wicket is going to be good and ready.
Well, there's a reason Darren Sammy has Roston Chase in the setup, Nikhil Uttam Chandani. It's to handle those slow turners. Thank you very much for chatting with us, and I'm sure we'll be catching up throughout the course of this tournament.
Cheers, guys. Have a good one.
Yeah. How do you like that, Lance and Mariah?
Like what?
That's why Chase is in the side, to handle the slow turners.
Nikhil did tell us that. He's a good prediction guru. He predicted that too.
All right, let's have a look at the respective standings for the various groups, starting with Group A, USA leading that after their win over Canada. That was on the opening night, that was Saturday. Let's move along then to Group B. Namibia over Oman. Oh, that was a thrilling game, Namibia and Oman. It went to a super over.
Yeah.
And yeah, David Visa was brilliant with bat and ball
Play of the match.
for Namibia. Yeah, and then the West Indies getting that win over Papua New Guinea. They are atop Group C. And then in Group D, where we had the first match earlier today, South Africa leading Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka really struggling with the bat there. South Africa getting the job done. They have 2 points. Yeah, later on, it will be Afghanistan, Uganda.
In New York.
Watching.
In New York.
Can't wait. Like,
You
my
can't
life
wait.
has gotten reason again to stay up. I've been looking forward to this. June, Ricardo, happy times. I can't wait.
I think it's break time.
Yeah, it's a break time now.
I
I'll
have
be
other
back.
reasons.
To stay up?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
We've waited for. It's our time, so let me take it home.